while, but I decided to return to MBT, a game of Cold War, tank-to-tank combat on the tactical level. A game of the Panzer series, in fact, which is a modernized version of the classic Panzer game set up in the 1987 Germany. This is scenario 1, and it is thought to be played with basic rules. But well, basic rules are basic. It's good to find how this game works, but if you will touch the advanced rules, you will find how limited basic rules are. So it really pays off to check the first scenario again, but with advanced rules. Trust me, it's much more fun, and I'm going to show you this today with the first scenario from MBT playbook, and this is scenario 1, first clash, Czech Western border, 27 September 1987, and we have very limited forces, in fact, 2 companies on each side. We have Soviet tanks company containing 3 platoons, each of 4 tanks of T-72 tanks in AV version, and American company containing 4 platoons, 3 of them containing 3 M60 tank, and 1 containing 4 M60 tanks, and 2 command tanks on American side, and 1 command tank on Soviet side. This is a major difference and pretty important one, because when you will take tank cards for each side, you will find that Soviet tanks are superior in general, especially when it comes to armor. Their armor is definitely better. American guns are bit better, but I wouldn't say this is something really important here, because armor, that's where it works, and Soviet armor is almost twice better than American. Also, Soviets have era, so this is really problematic for Americans to win this scenario with basic rules, because Soviets are simply slaughtering them. But maybe with advanced rules it will go a bit differently, especially when you will use some of the optional rules. And that's what I mean when it comes to the command units. You can see Americans have 2 command tanks, Soviets had only 1. If you are ignoring command rules, then this is not a really important thing. But if you play with command rule, then you will see this is something that really works here. So I'm going to play with command rules and some other rules just to have some fun, and maybe to show you how this scenario works with all these fancy advanced and optional rules. Okay, first thing first, each side starts on one edge of the board, and each side we have to make a roll, and the one side chooses where it starts. Of course, I am playing it solo, so it would be harder to choose and to make a fair choice. So instead I'm going to make it a bit different. I'm going to make a roll for Americans. If there will be 1, 2, 3, they are starting here. If 4, 5, 6, they are starting there. So 4, 5, 6. So Americans are starting from the north edge of the board, while Soviets are starting from the south. Okay, and now who is going to set up first? Again, roll. 1, 2, 3 Americans, 4, 5, 6 Soviets. So Americans have to set up first. That's unfortunate, because in this game you always prefer to be second one. Instead, there is one more. There is one exception of this situation. It is a combat phase. In combat phase, you like to be first. Okay, so Americans are in the better situation when it comes to their command units. Like I said before, in this scenario, command span is 10 hexes. So as long as your tanks are 10 hexes from the commanding units, they are considered to be in command. So we have 2 command tanks on American side, so we can set up our units pretty widely because we don't have to worry about them being off command. Okay, so I can set up my tanks no more than 3 hexes from the edge. Okay, so one platoon goes here. Their goal will be to reach this zone. One platoon goes 1, 2, 3 here, and another platoon is going to be set up here. American tanks are pretty slow in the terrain. They have only 5 movement points when it comes to the terrain movement, so they aren't very fast. And one more platoon. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that's for my tanks, and now my command tanks. One of them is going to set up, I think here, and one there. So all of the American tanks are in command. That's good. And now Ruskies. They are in the bit more complicated situation because, well, they have only 1 command tank. So we have to set up them in the range of their command tank. Of course, we can ignore command range, but we will have to pay for that. And I think I will do it because, well, if I want to gain control over victory points, I have to attack on the multiple directions, and my command tank won't be able to cover everyone. So 1 platoon starts here. 1 platoon goes here, and finally 1 platoon goes there. While command tank 1, 2, 3 goes there. So right at the beginning of the game, Soviets are off command because our command tank is here and 1 platoon is there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, well, 12, 13, 14. So this is our 14 hexes. It is not enough to be in command. But we will make it somehow. At last, we have Marx and Engels on our side. Alright, so that's all for the setup. And now, scenario is 50 turns long. This is not very long, but judging on my own experience, this scenario usually ends in the no more than 10 turns. Of course, it might change because this game is quite unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen, but there is a limited number of units on board, and if you played Panzer game, you probably know that it is quite often to happen that first you have to damage enemy tank, then damage it again to knock it out. But MBT is slightly different, of course. It shares the same rules, so you can damage enemy tank and so on. But the firepower is totally on the another level, and this game is simply much more deadly. So tanks are going in flames much more often. Tanks are knocked up after 1 hit much more often than in the Panzer games. Okay, so now we have our tanks set up, we know the rules, and now victory conditions. Well, in fact, we are simply trying to knock up as many enemy tanks as possible, but of course there are some victory conditions as well. Long story short, for each fort or bridge you get some victory points, and you also get victory points for destroyed enemy tanks. So you want to reach this zone as fast as possible, control bridges and forts, and then eliminate enemy tanks. Okay, we will see if it will work. We are starting with turn 1, and first of all we have to check for our commands. As for Soviets first, they have tilting units. And because of that, let me check. They are seasoned, so they have 6 because of 10 and 1 because of 3. Sorry, 2. So they have totally of 8 comments that have a range of 1, but because they are out of command span, they can only give a half of these commands when it comes to move and short halt. So, long story short, you can give 8 commands to your unit, but because of the command limitations, you can only give 4 move or short halt. Luckily, we have 4 stacks. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can simply give each of them move command and it is fine. Okay, now Americans. Americans have 2, 6, 9, 15 tanks. So let us check. Seasoned 10, so it's 6, and 5, so it's 3. So we have 9 commands, and all American tanks are in the range of their command units, so we can use 9 move, short halt, fire, overwatch, any kind of command we like. Alright, so let's go to our hot dog lovers. Here we have, and just like when it comes to Soviets, we are going to move all of them, so I'm going to give them move commands. We have no enemy in our side, and we also want to move. But the problem is that American tanks are a bit slower. So Americans are hoping that they will be able to knock down some of the Soviet tanks, and they would prefer to stay far from Soviets. Okay, alright, so now when we have our commands, we can declare who is going to be first player and the second player. There are no great modifiers in this scenario, both sides are seasoned, so let's simply make a roll. And now I am using white and red die. Well, I am Polish, so white and red, my national flag. So Soviets 75, Americans 55. So Soviets gain initiative in the turn 1, and because of that, Americans have to move first. In fact, in some situations, when you are first player, you would really love to be first to move, but no, this game says clearly that first player makes attacks first, but moves as a second. Alright, so let's go to Americans again. I shouldn't move my camera. And now we are making our move. First, this platoon of 3 tanks. They have 5 movement points in the terrain, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Command tank. Command tank wants to move as well, and now it moves 1 movement point because we are moving up the slope. Then they are going to move on the hex with light woods. And light woods cost us 4 movement points. So this is 5, and that's where we're going to stay. Next, this group. They are moving down the road, and road movement is 11. That's pretty good. But if we are going to use these 11 movement points, we have to stay on the road. We cannot leave this road at any point of our movement. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's my movement. Now this platoon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's where they are going to stay. My command tank. 1, 2, it's not moving any further. And this platoon. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's American movement. And now Soviets. Soviets are mainly on the road. That's great because their T-72 are pretty fast tanks. As you can see, they have 14 movement points on the road. That's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to stay here. Why? Let me show you. There are 1, 2, 3 victory points here. I would like to cover them all. So, since my other platoon is going to move here and probably capture this bridge, they are going to capture this fort and this bridge. So, they cannot move any further if they want to leave the road, because they've utilized road movement, so they have to stay on the road. So that's all for them. Now, this platoon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they are pretty close to this bridge, and they will be able to size it without much problems. Now my command tank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And finally the last Soviet platoon. Oh, sorry for this board movement. Now they also have 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. As you can see, Soviets are pretty close to most of the victory points, so their tanks are really fast. And that's all for the Soviet movement. They didn't make any other actions, and now we are concluding all the movement phase. We can skip area phase because we haven't any area units in this scenario, so we can go into the adjustment phase. But I don't think I have anything to do when it comes to adjustment, because I'm not using morale rules. They are pretty clunky in my opinion, and none of them is suppressed so far, so I don't have anything to do for good. For now, when it comes to the game, I believe. As for adjustment phase, there is one thing I would like to do. This is turret rotation. I can adjust turret in this step, and I can do it with checking a turret turn on the tank card. It is 2 for the Soviet tanks, and same it is 2 for American tanks. So I can change my turret location by 2 hex sites. As for Americans, I don't think I have anything to do, but as for Soviets, yes. This platoon wants to change and rotate their turrets like this. So they were basically faced like that, and they are changing by 1 hex site onto that direction. So if they want to fire, they will be firing in this direction. That's where enemy comes from. So that's all for the turn 1. We don't have any other things to do in the adjustment phase, because well, we don't have to worry about morale, suppression, etc. for now. So this concludes turn 1. We are moving into turn 2, and first of all we have to remove all the command markers, and now we will have to give them again. The number of tanks is the same, so there will be the same number of commands for each side. And again, Soviets have all of their tanks in their command range, because command tank is here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, this platoon is out of combat. So, because of that, we have our 13 tanks. So this is 8 commands, but only half of them can be move, short, halt. So 1, 2, 3, and here I'm going to give 2 of these tanks a move, and the remaining 2 will get a fire. So that's all for the Soviets. And now Americans. They have 15 tanks, and all of them are in range of command. So this means they have 6 plus 3, 9 commands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now this platoon that contains 4 tanks is going to get short halt. So they will try to score some hits on Soviets and move after. It won't be easy, but I think it is quite important, because staying in the move makes them also harder to hit by Soviets. So, commands are given, and now most important role in each turn, initiative role. For Americans, 8, for Soviets it's 75. So Soviets keep initiative, and now we are going to the combat phase, and Soviets are firing first. So we have 2 Soviet tanks there. They are firing on these 4 American tanks, and they are simply firing on the first 2 tanks of American group. So let's check for everything when it comes to combat. First, range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is 9. So this is short range. And now let's check for our modifiers. First of all, American tanks are pretty big. They have size +1, so this is +1. Next, they are in a move, so we have another -1, so this is -3. Next, they aren't in the cover, so this is no other modifiers. There is anything on our line of sight, nothing obstructs it. And finally, our sight. Soviet tanks have laser sight, and on the short range it provides +1. So we have 2. This means that we have 2 on the short range, so this is 56. We are going to hit our target if we will roll 56 or less. Our rate of fire is normal, so we don't get any possible second or third hit. We can only hit once. So let's make a roll for the first tank. 42. It is a hit. Great. Now let's see how effective it will be. My God, it like a Pokemon player says, it is very effective. It is 8, so we hit them from the front, and this means we hit whole front. Half front armor is 48, and our penetration value is 97. So this is definitely a penetration. You can tell. And now we rolled 9. This means this is brew up. So American bastards are going down in flames. And their pals, seeing that their friends are burning alive, are shocked. This means they get suppressed on. That's great. Well, not very great for Americans. And now second Soviet tank fires. It also needs 56 or less, and they got 0.8. So another hit is made. let's see how effective it was. It is 56. So 5 says that it is hull front again, so we can tell that it penetrates, and 6, it is knocked up. So second American tank is destroyed, but this time it is destroyed normally. Off you go! Now, time for revenge. But it will be very, very hard, because now suppression comes in effect. And you will see, suppression is very, very bad when you are going to fire on enemy. The range is the same, so this is 12, so this is all. This is 9, so this is also the short for Americans. And now, modifiers. First of all, Soviet tanks are in the woods. This is medium cover, so this is 3. Americans are suppressed, so it is -5, so this is 8. And they are utilizing shot halt, so we have to check their stabilizers. It is 2, so it is 10. Oh my! So this is 10 on short. They hit if they will roll natural 1. Almost impossible, but let's make it. First hit, 58 and 36. Of course, no effect. So that's all. And well, it's not starting very good for Americans. So we have a movement phase now, and since Soviets were first to fire, then Americans are first to move. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And now them. Now they are in the pretty no cool situation. Why? Because they have short halt, and they have their movement points halved because of the short halt, and now they have their movement points halved again because of suppression. So if they want to move on the road, they have 11. It is halved to 5 because of short halt, and then halved to 2 because of suppression. So they go 1, 2 only. And of course they have to keep the suppression on, only for 2 tanks, because two were destroyed. And well, in such a case, it makes sense to keep only 1 wreck marker on the hex. You don't need more. And if it is burning up, you'd better keep this one, because such a smoke can be an effect for further combat. Okay, so American command tank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's where it stays. Okay, so that's all for Americans, and now Soviet movement phase. Let's go. These 2 tanks are moving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they are keeping their turret facing like this, so I can remove turret facing markers. These 2 are remaining here because they have had fire command, so they cannot move. Now this platoon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they stay here. And this platoon, 1, 2, they are staying there. And this command tank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's all for the movement phase. And now we are going to the adjustment phase. So what do we have to do now? First of all, we have to check if anyone wants to adjust their turrets. Let me think. No. I think that this American tank, it has turret facing like this, and it switches to that. All the remaining tanks keep their turrets like they were. So no turret adjustment. And now suppression steps. These two tanks have suppression on, so they are automatically switching to the suppression off. But suppression off is still in effect. It can be removed in the next turn, in the adjustment phase again, but as you can see, it works like this, that you have to keep suppression for at least one entire turn. It is impossible to remove it in the same turn when you gain it. This is quite important thing to remember. Okay, so that's all for the second turn. We finished the turn, and first two American tanks are destroyed. No losses on Soviets. Yes, that's what I expected.